Have you ever nurtured a parsnip or a carrot all winter long, only to harvest it and find that it's really woody? It's disappointing, isn't it? You have just fallen into the biennial trap. Right now, your winter vegetables are waking up once again and they're making a desperate race to flower. So today we're going to be harvesting as much as we can and preserving it. Also in today's video there are critical updates on the green manure and those sweet potatoes. I will warn you now, this is going to be quite a long video. There is lots of information to go through. I shall leave timestamps so that if you need to go back and re-watch anything, you can go to the exact point in the video where we said it. Also, in the description, I'll leave links to our sowing calendar. I've had one or two people ask me about that. I think we forgot to put the link in last week's description. And also you'll find a link there to our shop. So go grab yourself a cuppa, get yourself comfortable, and do make sure that you stick around until the end, because myself and Mrs. W have some wonderful news to share with you. But before we get started, a question for you. Let us know in the comments the one crop that you grew last season that saved you the most money. Look at these white roots. This carrot is waking up. Carrots, parsnips and leeks, they're all biennials. Year one is for the tasty roots, and they also store very well. But year two is for reproduction. As soon as the daylight hours reach a certain point, they switch modes. The sugar from these vegetables that make them taste so good to us disappears, becomes bitter as the plant uses the sugars to form a stalk and then to rise and make a flower to complete the cycle of its life. And all of this begins in March. You still have parsnips in the ground like we have. You can see here that they're now starting to reshoot. This is the time you need to be harvesting them now. We don't want those sugars to disappear from that root. We can save that and we can preserve it. But equally, it is not just root vegetables that we need to be wary of. Probably like a lot of you, you've been growing sprouts just like us. And we've got through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've only got 3 more stalks of our sprouts left. But the Brussels sprout will want to rise to flower sometime in March or April, depending on which variety it was. You can see that ours won't be too much longer. How can you tell? All of these leaves are now starting to point upwards. They're no longer round anymore and tight as they would normally be. That's a sure sign that that plant is getting ready to start its reproduction process. So we need to harvest those, get those back down to the house and preserved so that we can enjoy them. Although myself and Mrs. W, we do like to eat most of our things seasonally, so whatever's available and ready to us in the garden, there is something rather nice to think that we're eating our own sprouts in July. Vegetable soup made from our vegetables that were grown over winter. Quite nice. While we're harvesting these vegetables, so that in some cases they don't go woody, if we want to save even more money, then we need to be thinking about saving our own seed. I'm leaving this patch of leeks in the ground specifically to let them flower and set their seed. And I'm also replanting some of these Zabroon shallots. Unlike our onions, the variety Globu that we grew is an F1, and they won't come true to type, whereas these Zabroon shallots that I have here, these are actually open-pollinated. So once the stalk comes out of these and it flowers, we'll be able to save all of those seeds. These Zabroon shallots have been an absolute legend for us this past season. You can see we're still eating them now. I only wished I'd have grown more of them. Last season we tried multi-sowing them, which worked really, really well. So I want to be able to grow more of them in the future. And instead of having to pay lots of money for the seed, we can save our own seed. That's going to save us a few pennies. Here's the technical bit. Alliums, like leeks and shallots and onions, they need a community in order to keep their gene pool strong. If you save seeds from just 2 plants, within a couple of years, the plants will become weak. For a healthy home supply, you really need to let at least 5 plants rise to flower and set their seed. This ensures that you get good genetic diversity and strong plants for years to come. But the savings on buying seed packets next year is huge. So let's take a look at these 2 beds here, where we planted up some green manure last year. Remember, it was right at the very end of August, beginning of September, when we sowed the seed, and then we planted mustard in this bed and field beans in this bed. Now, as expected, the frost has mainly knocked back the mustard. It's done the job for us. A little bit of regrowth that's coming back. That's probably because the days are starting to get a bit warmer and certainly a bit longer. But all I need to do to this now is to get my wheelbarrow, my compost, and actually just cover this all over with compost. Anything that started to regrow, I'll just twist out because I don't want it to grow anymore. I just want all of the stalks that are left just to slowly but surely compost down into this bed. Whereas the field beans, they've been touched a little bit. We have had some quite good frosts over the winter months, but in the main, they're still standing, as Elton John would say. And for us, it's now time to terminate them. Now, you can grow field beans to eat. They're actually really quite nice, and some people enjoy growing those rather than broad beans. That wasn't the purpose for these. The purpose for these was for a green manure. And the idea is that being a legume, all in the plant's root nodules, it will have stored nitrogen. The plant does that, and then when it starts to produce its pods, it uses all that nitrogen to make all those lovely green peas or beans that we want to eat. But what I want is for it to stay in the ground, and then as the roots rot down, they will slowly but surely release all of that nitrogen back into the soil. I'm expecting big things of this, Mrs. W. I'm expecting cabbages with leaves like elephant ears.
Fingers crossed. If we don't get them, we can't. Nobody can say that we didn't try.
That's true. That's true. So all I'm going to do is to chop and drop them down and just leave it all on the surface. And just like we're going to do with the mustard bed, we're just going to cover all of that with compost. And then all of that greenery that you can see in the stalks, they will return their goodness back to this bed. Let's get these down to the kitchen and start preserving. A quick update on the sweet potato grow along. Hopefully those of you that are taking part have ordered your slips so that you will have some as and when the time comes to plant them up. As you know, myself and Mrs. W, we started a sweet potato off in some compost. This was because we tried the water method for the last couple of years and it really hadn't worked for us. But what I do have to tell you is that the soil method didn't work either. We don't have a single slip. Until now. Mrs. W decided this wasn't working in the compost, so she's put a potato into the water. And look, we had many, many slips. So it's worked really well. The conclusion that we've come to is that The potato that we used before, when we did the water experiment a couple of years ago, was actually one that we'd bought. And as we all know, when you buy, whether it be normal potatoes or sweet potato, they're often sprayed with something to stop them shooting. So we think it was possibly that was stopping what you see now from happening originally, because look at this. It's an abundance of sweet potato slips. So, we're ready. We just need to keep doing what we're doing with these, and a little bit later in the year, we'll show you exactly what you need to do next. So really, the next update will be when we remove these and pot them up. But if you've ordered slips because you haven't tried to grow your own, your next update will be late May when we look to plant them out. Oh, and I just thought I'd mention that this potato has been in this water for exactly 10 days. That's all it's taken. It's done really well.
It has.
Back to the harvest. Remember that parsnip right at the beginning that I cut in half to show you how woody it had gone? That was our last parsnip. We had left that just so that we could show you what would happen, or what would begin to happen to a root vegetable like a parsnip or a carrot once we get to this time of the year. We're going to roast it off today and we shall be eating that. That should be fine before it goes any further. But when it comes to your root vegetables, what you can do, you can store them in boxes or crates of sand or compost. Just leave a gap between each carrot or parsnip that you lay in there, one layer at a time in your chosen container. But of course, that takes quite a bit of work and of course space, depending on how many root vegetables you've got. But that's not our preferred method of storing our root vegetables. We used to do that many years ago. But what we do now is we put our root vegetables into bags. And Mrs. W removes the tops, and they're just wiped over if they are muddy. Of course, with us being no dig, we don't have that problem. They come out really quite nice and cleanly. She puts them into a plastic bag, expels all the air, and then seals the top, whether it's tied, if it's a tied bag, or we tend to use Ziploc ones that do the same job. And then you can store them in your fridge for some time. They'll keep for 2 to 3 months, really, won't they, Mrs.
They
W?
will, yes. They're really well preserved like that. Yeah.
And it really does work. We had our doubts at first. I remember when we first talked about it, I think Frank said, yep, we do exactly the same here. So it really does work, and is a great method for storing your root vegetables. Another preservation method, of course, is freezing. Most of us will have access to a freezer. And all you need to do with your vegetables is blanch them for the recommended time and pop them into bags. But a quick tip here, when Mrs. W cubes up our vegetables, she will freeze them first individually on trays in a freezer. If you've got space, I would advise you to do that too. Because the great thing is that once they've been in the freezer for an hour or two, you can take the tray out, open your bag, pour them straight into your bag, and they're all loose. So that when you go to use that vegetable from that bag, you can just take out the handful that you want and not a big frozen island. And then the last way that you can preserve things is that you can actually use your vegetables and cook something. Let's say a lovely hearty vegetable soup. You could cook that, and then of course you could freeze it once it's cooled down. And in that way you have meals that are ready to go for yourselves. And like I said earlier in the video, there's something rather nice about when you go to your freezer in the middle of July, sit down for your lunch at midday and have a lovely bowl of vegetable soup made from all of those root vegetables that you grew the previous winter. Feels like you've cheated the system a bit, but really good for you. Nice bit of chunky bread Can't beat it. So, the roots have been saved, and the seeds are on their way, and the sweet potatoes are thriving. And now for that news that we wanted to share with you. We have been invited as guest speakers on the main stage at RHS Sandringham Flower Show. It takes place in July, and if you're in the area and you're visiting the show, then do come and say hello. We would love to meet you all. I'm sure you've all seen that I put a community post out there last week to say that we just crossed 10,000 subscribers. And I just really want to say a really big thank you to all of you. Whether you've been watching us from that very first, very shaky, very nervous Mr. W sitting on the bench up the garden and talking about his fruit and veg, or whether you've just subscribed and are watching us for the first time, a big thank you to you all. We never once imagined that we would have this many subscribers. Our aim was simply to inspire as many people as we could to grow their own vegetables, no matter what space you have. To that end, that's been a huge success. Some of your comments have been amazing, and it really does spur myself and Mrs. W on. All I can say is it's a really big thank you, and just keep doing what you're doing, whether it be the shares, the hypes, the comments, all of that has helped our channel grow, because it's not just what we do, it's what you guys do too. And that's still our core message today. We don't ever want to change that. We just want to inspire as many people as we can to grow their own veg, no matter what space you have. And to that end, if you wish to begin growing your vegetables for the first time, whether that be in open ground or whether that be in containers, you're going to need to know what to sow. What can you sow in the month of March? Watch this video next. We shall see you there.